Call the Honourable Tim Grocer.
Mr Speaker, first of all, I'd just like to acknowledge to my colleague, Mr Cosgrove, that I've taken very careful note of your constructive suggestions. You'll understand I can't go beyond that. I think all of us understand there's a very high degree of unanimity in this House on this matter, and I think it's got certain common elements to it. And the first and most important common element, coming through clearly from all the leaders' speeches and subsequent comments that we've just heard in this snap debate, is a deep concern for the very, very young children who could be affected. Thank God we've not heard so far reports. And also, so closely associated with that, deep concern for their parents, their caregivers, their grandparents, their relatives, and all of these people that worry about these little people because of the intense emotional bond that you feel to one of your own at that age. And rather than talk about this in generalities, I'd like to talk about it specifically. I don't know whether members noticed, but half an hour ago I was in the visitors' gallery with two of my own little mokapuna, Lucia and Sophia, reflecting the Italian heritage of part of my wider family. And they're visiting me, their grandpa, from Hong Kong. Now, the older little girl was about 8 months old when the disaster in 2008 occurred over milk poisoning. And I had just been appointed informally Minister of Trade to replace my parliamentary colleague Phil Goff, and was sent on a plane to the APEC leaders' meeting. At that stage, we did not know whether it was New Zealand milk. We did not know what the cause of it was. And just before I got on the plane, Mr Speaker, my daughter-in-law, who was also up there half an hour ago, rang me and said, congratulations on becoming a minister. Now, you're the Minister of Trade. You've got to do something about this, because I can't find infant formula for your granddaughter, who was the child up there. So I went and made an appointment with the Chinese Minister of Commerce, Chen Deming, who would also be very well known to Mr Goff. And at the end of this discussion, in which neither of us really know what is going on other than dozens of babies in China are going to hospital with renal failure for reasons that neither of us really knew at the time. And I told him this story in slightly more diplomatic terms. And he paused and he said, this is extraordinary, because I've just received the same phone call about one of my granddaughters. And it's at moments like that you realise how completely trivial positions are. And at the end of the day, human beings are speaking to human beings across cultures with exactly the same concerns. Now, members will appreciate I've tried to do what I can to the parents, caregivers of children in China today. I've been speaking to CCTV, one of the main Chinese television channels, trying to convey our sympathy and understanding for the uncertainties and situation they're in. But I do think we should acknowledge this is a very testing time for the caregivers of these children. As I say, thank God we haven't heard of any illness so far, but for technical reasons that I do not really have time to go into, you should not read too much optimism into that statement because of the delays that can occur under certain clinical conditions. Now, I do want to just reassure, I do appreciate that members outside a small group of ministers, well, not that small, 8 ministers involved in this, have not been briefed properly by us because, and for the reasons that Mr Cosgrove was alluding, fully understanding the need about priorities here. But one thing I can put to rest immediately is the Director General of Health and his senior officials have been intimately involved in this. It's just that the front face in terms of the media has been the Director General. But I can assure members that the Ministry of Health is deeply involved, and I personally heard the Director General in one of our telecons at least once with his technical advisors talking about the health aspects to this. This will slowly emerge as we're able to have more time to brief people more fully on these issues, Mr Speaker. In the very brief time that I have left, just let me assure members that in terms of my part in this puzzle, I will leave no stone unturned to try to deal both with the immediate human concerns of our customers and then to contain the economic damage to our country for all the reasons that are stunningly obvious. And I'm optimistic, Mr Speaker, just to make one final concluding comment, that the proud record of this country, we are a small but a sophisticated country, we will find our way through. Thank you.
For the Honourable Nathan Guy.
Mr. Speaker, thanks for the opportunity to make some comments in what is